When I came back from hell, I didn't just wake up to life. I woke up to an empty world. My family was gone. My friends abandoned me. My wealth disappeared. Everything I once held on to was stripped away. And yet, if you ask me today, I will tell you, I am grateful. I know it sounds insane. How can anyone be grateful after losing everything? But when you've seen the flames of hell, when you've smelled the stench of eternal death, when you've heard the cries of the damned with your own ears, suddenly nothing in this world matters more than eternity. My name is Mark. This is my testimony of how I died, entered the place of torment, and came back only to lose it all, and why that loss became the greatest gift God ever gave me. Before I died, I thought I had everything a man could ever want. Money flowed into my hands like water. I owned a thriving business, a beautiful home, and I surrounded myself with people who praised me as if I were untouchable. I walked with pride, with arrogance, believing my own strength had built the empire I stood on. But what I didn't realize was that I was building my life on sand. My nights were filled with indulgence, drinking, pleasures, empty laughter. I mocked those who warned me about God, about judgment, about eternity. I thought religion was for the weak, for those with no ambition. I wore a mask of happiness. But deep inside, there was a silent emptiness I couldn't fill. I pushed it down with noise, with company, with business, with sin. I didn't want to face the truth, that my soul was starving while my flesh was feasting. Looking back now, I see it clearly. I was a blind man walking toward a cliff, smiling as I approached the edge. And the night I died, that cliff gave way beneath me. It was supposed to be an ordinary day. I had gone about my business, smiling at people who feared me, shaking hands with partners who admired my wealth, pretending everything was perfect. I had laughed at a joke over the phone just an hour before it happened. Life felt solid, unshakable, like the foundations of my empire could never crumble. But death has a way of tearing through illusions like a knife through paper. It doesn't knock. It doesn't wait for your schedule. It simply comes. I felt the first warning like a tightening band across my chest. At first, I ignored it. I told myself it was stress, fatigue, maybe too much coffee. But then the pain struck like lightning. It shot through my chest, sharp and merciless, spreading to my arms, my back, my neck. My vision blurred. My breath turned shallow, ragged. I staggered, trying to reach for help, but my legs betrayed me. My body crumbled under me, collapsing to the ground. I could hear voices around me, my wife screaming my name, someone dialing for help, the chaos of feet moving quickly. Their voices sounded so close, but my strength was slipping like water through a broken jar. My heart hammered wildly, then slowed, then skipped beats. My vision dimmed. And it felt as though a heavy curtain was being drawn over my eyes. Then came the strangest sensation, a pulling. It was as though something inside me was being yanked free, like threads unraveling from cloth. I gasped, and suddenly, I was standing. Not standing in my body, but standing beside it. I could see myself lying there on the floor. My wife was bent over me, sobbing uncontrollably, shaking me, pleading with me to wake up. A friend knelt by my side, shouting orders, pressing my chest. But I wasn't inside that body anymore. I was outside. I screamed, "I'm here! I'm alive!" But no one heard me. My lips moved. My voice echoed in the emptiness, but no sound reached their ears. Panic set in. I reached to touch my wife's shoulders, but my hand passed through her as though she was smoke. I waved frantically. I wept. I shouted, but the scene remained untouched. They couldn't see me. Terror gripped me as I realized the truth. I was dead. My body was just a shell lying on the floor. My spirit, the real me, had been separated. At first, I felt weightless. For a brief moment, I thought maybe I was dreaming. Maybe this was an out-of-body experience that I'd soon snap out of. But then, the air shifted. A chill fell over me. Not the kind of cold you feel on your skin, but a deep, gnawing chill that seeped into the core of my being. The room darkened. not visibly, but spiritually. Shadows gathered, and then I heard it. A sound, a low rumble, like 1,000 distant drums, deep and heavy. It grew louder and louder until it shook me to my core. And then, before I could even process what was happening, the ground beneath me gave way. It wasn't like falling through space. It was like being sucked, yanked downward with violent force. Something stronger than chains pulled me, dragging me into an abyss. I thrashed, I fought, I tried to cling to something. But there was nothing to hold on to. I was plunging into a darkness so thick it was suffocating. The deeper I went, the heavier the air became. It was no longer air. It was stench. The foulest odor imaginable filled my senses, burning my lungs, choking me. It was the smell of rot, of sulfur, of burning flesh, of waste and decay all mixed together. My stomach churned, and I gagged, but there was no relief. Then came the screams. At first faint, like whispers carried on the wind. Then louder, then deafening. Voices upon voices, countless in number, men, women, even children, crying, wailing, shrieking in torment. The sound was unbearable, yet inescapable. Every cry was soaked with agony, regret, and hopelessness. It wasn't like hearing a crowd at a distance. It was like having their screams inside my head, pounding against my mind with no escape. I covered my ears, but my hands could not stop the sound. It penetrated me. And then I began to see. Shapes moved in the darkness. Shadows with form, but no mercy. Some appeared like grotesque figures, twisted and distorted, with eyes that glowed like embers. Others were formless, yet their presence radiated hatred and despair. I knew, without being told, that these were not humans. They were beings of torment, demons assigned to drag souls like mine into the pit prepared for them. One of them drew near, towering over me, its breath hot and rancid. Its laughter pierced me like needles. It spoke no words, but its intent was clear. I belonged to them. Fear like I had never known consumed me. All the pride I once carried, all the arrogance, the mocking of God, the empty laughter, I remembered them in an instant. And I realized with crushing horror, this was justice. This was what I had chosen. I had spent my life rejecting God, mocking eternity, chasing sin. And now, sin was my master, dragging me into its eternal home. I tried to pray. My lips stammered, "God, please." But it was too late. No voice answered me. No light appeared. Only the weight of despair, pressing down like chains on my soul. The further I descended, the hotter it became. Waves of heat, suffocating, unbearable, pressed against me. It wasn't like earthly fire. It was alive, consuming, wrapping itself around me without flame. The heat carried pain in itself, searing, penetrating every fiber of my being. I screamed, but my scream only joined the countless others, lost in the sea of torment. And all the while, regret gnawed at me. Memories of chances I had, sermons I ignored, people who warned me, the emptiness I numbed with pleasure, it all returned, mocking me. I had traded eternity for a few years of sinful pleasure, and now that trade was final. I can't describe in full the dread of realizing that time no longer exists. On earth, even the worst pain eventually ends. A sickness, a heartbreak, a prison sentence, all have an end. But here, there was no end. This was forever, eternal, infinite. No escape, no second chance. Only despair stretched out endlessly before me. That was the moment it hit me hardest. The world above, the life I thought I owned, the money, the praise of men, it was gone, stripped away. None of it could follow me. All I carried into this place was my soul, and it was condemned. As I sank deeper into the abyss, I realized the full weight of the words I once mocked. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? I had gained much in the world, but I had lost my soul, and now My descent into hell had only begun. I will never forget my first full moment in hell. If I live 100 lifetimes, if I had 1,000,000 tongues, I could never truly capture the horror of what it was like. It wasn't a nightmare. It wasn't a vision. It was real, more real than life itself. The very air in hell is alive with torment. The smell hits you first. On earth, I thought I knew what stench was. I had walked past garbage heaps. I had smelled rotting food. I had caught the scent of dead animals on the roadside. But nothing compares to the stench of hell. It is a mixture of every foul thing your mind can imagine, magnified 1,000 times. The stench of sulfur, burning flesh, open sewers, rotting corpses, and death itself all rolled into one atmosphere. The smell doesn't just fill your nose, it clings to your soul, saturating you until you feel sick in every part of your being. I tried to cover my nose, but my hands offered no relief. There was no fresh air to breathe, no escape from the suffocating foulness. Each breath felt like inhaling poison. My chest burned, my spirit ached, and yet I could not stop breathing it in. In hell, even breathing is torment. Then the heat pressed against me like a living thing. On earth, fire burns the skin, and you can scream until the pain stops. But in hell, the heat never stops. It doesn't just burn the surface, it penetrates, it invades, it consumes. It was as though my very soul was being roasted alive. My body was no longer flesh, but I felt every sensation more vividly than I had ever felt in my earthly body. The heat wrapped around me like chains of fire, searing without mercy, suffocating without pause. I tried to run, I tried to escape, but the ground beneath me was molten, sharp, jagged. The very soil of hell is torment. I stepped, and it felt like blades cutting into my feet. I fell, and the ground scorched me. There was no relief. Even standing still brought pain. But the worst, worse than the smell, worse than the heat, was the sound. Hell is never silent, not for a second. The air is filled with endless cries, wails, shrieks, and screams that never stop. Millions of voices all together, rising and falling like a sea of agony. Some screamed in anger, cursing God, cursing demons, cursing themselves. Others begged for mercy, sobbing, pleading, but no mercy came. Their voices blended into a constant, unbearable chorus of despair. And within those cries, I could hear stories. The cries of the murderer who wished he had never lifted a weapon. The weeping of the adulterer who replayed his betrayals over and over. The tormented laugh of the blasphemer who once mocked God and now mocked himself. The bitter sobbing of the greedy who gained the world but lost their souls. Every scream carried regret. Every cry carried despair. It was not just noise, it was pain made sound. And layered over the screams were the voices of demons. Their laughter pierced the air like knives. Cold, mocking, hateful laughter that echoed everywhere. They did not suffer. They delighted in the suffering. They fed on it. They moved through the darkness like hunters, their presence heavy, their eyes glowing with cruel fire. Some were massive, towering, with twisted bodies and broken wings. Others crawled like beasts, their claws scraping, their mouths dripping with vile hunger. And all of them rejoiced in our torment. One of them drew close to me. Its face was beyond horror, skin torn, teeth jagged, eyes blazing with cruelty. It leaned toward me and whispered words I will never forget. You are ours now, forever. Its voice wasn't just sound. It entered me, shook me, chained me. I fell to the ground, shaking, trembling, weeping. I wanted to run, but my legs had no strength. I wanted to fight, but I had no power. I screamed for God, please help me, please forgive me. My voice cracked. My words drowned in the sea of cries. But there was no answer, only laughter, only torment. The demons did not just threaten, they tormented. Some tore at souls, clawing, ripping, yet the souls never died. Others mocked, whispering lies, replaying the sins of the damned over and over, like films projected onto the walls of their minds. I could see souls writhing in agony, reliving their worst moments endlessly, never able to escape the memory of their rebellion against God. The flames of hell are not like earthly fire. They are not bright, not beautiful, not warm. They are dark, heavy, suffocating. The flames consume, yet never destroy. They burn, yet never end. I saw souls engulfed in fire, screaming, clawing at their own skin, but never consumed. The fire feeds on eternity. It never runs out, never fades, never dies. And everywhere I looked, there was despair. Total, crushing despair. On earth, no matter how bad life gets, there is always hope. Hope of healing, hope of change, hope that tomorrow will be better. But in hell, hope does not exist. Not even a trace. There is only endless suffering, endless regret, endless torment. That realization hit me harder than the fire, harder than the stench, harder than the screams. There would be no end, no release, no second chance. No morning after, just forever. I wept until my soul ached. I begged for even a drop of water, for a single breath of clean air, for a moment of silence. None came. I begged for death, for unconsciousness, for anything to escape the torment. But death does not live in hell, only eternity. And then, as I looked around, I saw something that froze me to the core. Recognition. I recognized some of the souls, faces from my past. A business partner who had laughed at God beside me, a friend I once partied with, a neighbor who mocked the church every Sunday. Their eyes met mine, and their screams grew louder. They knew me. They knew we had walked the same path. Now, we shared the same torment. I tried to shut my eyes, but even in darkness, hell was there. I tried to block my ears, but the screams and laughter pierced through. I tried to forget, but every memory was alive, haunting me. This was my first impression of hell, a place where every sense is tortured, where every moment is agony, where every soul is chained by regret, and where eternity itself is your enemy. When the first shock of hell settled into me, I thought the flames and the suffocating stench were enough. But then I realized hell was not empty. It was filled, overflowing, with souls. Men, women, even young voices. Each one screaming, each one drowning in regret. At first, I tried not to look. I wanted to believe I was alone. But the cries forced me to turn, and what I saw shook me more than the fire. Faces, human faces. Some burned beyond recognition, others strangely intact, but all twisted in anguish. Their eyes told stories. Stories of wasted lives, of rejected mercy, of regret that had no end. And then I froze, because I recognized some of them. Not far from me was an old business partner. On earth, he had been proud, wealthy, untouchable. We had laughed together at the things of God, mocking those who lived in holiness. But here, he was no partner. He was broken, writhing, clawing at himself as flames licked his body without consuming him. When his eyes met mine, he screamed, "Mark, we were wrong! We were wrong!" His words pierced me deeper than the fire. Another soul staggered by, weeping violently. She cried, "If only I had listened. If only I had turned back." She collapsed, clawing at the fiery ground. Her eyes lifted toward me. Desperate. Tell them not to come here. Everywhere I turned, I heard confessions. A man screamed, "I lived for pleasure, and now pleasure is gone." Another shrieked, "I thought money would save me, but it cannot buy me out of this." Others wailed, "I thought I had time. I thought tomorrow would come." The worst was when a gaunt, broken soul crawled toward me. His eyes locked on mine, and with a trembling voice he whispered, "Mark, you told me God wasn't real. You told me to live for the moment. Look where your words brought me." He screamed in agony as flames wrapped him, and I collapsed, sobbing. The realization hit me like a hammer. My sin hadn't only condemned me, it had led others here. My influence, my pride, my words, they had pulled people into the same pit. That knowledge burned deeper than the fire itself. In hell, no one blames God. We all know the truth. Every soul there knows. We chose this. We chose sin, rebellion, pride. We ignored the warnings. We silenced our conscience. We laughed at mercy. And now, mercy was gone. As I looked out at the endless sea of souls, screaming, weeping, cursing, regretting, I realized something more terrifying than all the fire, stench, and demons. This is forever. In that endless torment, something inside me broke. For the first time in my proud, arrogant life, I didn't think about my wealth, my name, or my strength. None of it mattered. I thought only of God, the God I had mocked, ignored, and pushed aside. With tears I didn't know a soul could cry, I fell on my face in the burning ground and screamed, "Jesus, have mercy on me." My voice cracked under the weight of despair. I didn't deserve mercy, I knew that, but I couldn't stop calling his name. The demons roared in rage. The souls around me shrieked louder, as if my cry for Jesus tormented them too. The air grew heavier, the fire hotter. And yet, I kept calling, "Jesus, Jesus, forgive me." Then it happened. In that abyss of hopelessness, a light pierced through the darkness. It wasn't the fire's glow, it was pure, radiant, holy. Every demon shrank back, snarling, as the light cut through the shadows like a sword. And in that light, I felt something I thought I'd never feel again. Hope. Just a flicker, just a breath, but enough to keep me crying out. A voice, strong yet gentle, echoed, "You were not created for this place. My mercy is greater than your sin." I wept uncontrollably. I had lost everything, but in that moment I realized, if Jesus could hear me even here, there was still a chance. The light grew brighter until it consumed everything around me. The screams of hell faded, the stench was gone, and for the first time since I had died, I felt peace. I looked up and saw him, Jesus. His presence was like fire, yet gentle, like a storm, yet still. His eyes met mine, and all I could do was weep. He reached toward me, and instantly the chains that bound me shattered. The flames had no power. The darkness fled. I felt lifted, rising out of the pit that had claimed me. A voice thundered, "I am giving you another chance. Go back and tell them, warn them, for many walk the path you walked." The next thing I knew, I gasped for breath. My eyes opened. I was back in my body, in a hospital bed, with my family crying over me. They screamed with shock as I whispered, "Jesus saved me." I had died, gone to hell, and come back. I had lost everything the world gave me, but I gained something priceless, mercy. And now, every breath I take is for one purpose, to tell you hell is real, and Jesus is the only way out. Friend, I came back from hell with one message. Don't wait until it's too late. I thought I had time. I thought my money, my pride, my pleasures would satisfy me. But the moment death came, none of it mattered. The only thing that mattered was Jesus, and I had rejected him. Hell is real. I saw it. I felt it. I heard the screams of those who thought just like I once did. Tomorrow, I'll repent. Tomorrow, I'll change. But tomorrow never came. I stand before you alive only because of mercy. Not because I deserved it, not because I was strong, but because Jesus heard my cry. And if he could save me from the pit, he can save you right now. Don't gamble with your soul. Don't push off the decision another day. Call on Jesus today, right where you are. Confess him as Lord. Surrender your life. Because I promise you this, losing everything with Jesus is better than gaining everything without him. He is the only way, the only truth, the only life. Choose him today.